What if I told you that while you were sleeping, half the world's population just joined forces in an economic alliance that's growing so fast, Washington can barely keep up? In the last 18 months, BRICS has exploded from 5 countries to potentially 30-plus members and partners. They now control more of the global economy than the entire G7 combined, produce most of the world's oil, and are building payment systems that could break the dollar's 80-year reign. And here's the kicker. The harder the US pushes back with threats and tariffs, the faster countries are running toward BRICS. Today, we're breaking down the most dramatic power shift happening on the world stage right now, and why America's playbook might actually be creating the problem it's trying to solve. Before we dive in, quick context. BRICS started in 2009 with just 4 countries: Brazil, Russia, India, and China. South Africa joined in 2010, adding the S. For years, Western analysts dismissed it as a talk shop, countries with nothing in common except not being Western, too divided to matter. Fast forward to 2025, and that assessment looks completely wrong. BRICS isn't just growing, it's accelerating. Indonesia just joined as a full member in January 2025. Countries like Turkey, Nigeria, Vietnam, and even Saudi Arabia are either in or actively trying to get in. Over 30 countries have expressed interest. 23 have submitted formal applications. This isn't a club anymore, it's becoming a movement, and the momentum is building faster than anyone predicted. Let me show you just how dramatic this shift is with one comparison. In 1990, the G7, the Western economic powerhouse, controlled over half the world's economy. Today, they're down to less than a third. BRICS, they've surged past 41% of the global economy and represent half of humanity. Think about what that means. The old guard is shrinking, the new alliance is growing. And this isn't just about GDP on paper. Remember when Russia got kicked off SWIFT after Ukraine? Everyone said it would cripple their economy. Instead, Russia turned to BRICS and kept trading. Iran, the most sanctioned country on earth, is now doing 95% of its trade with Russia in rubles and rials, completely bypassing the dollar. Indonesia controls the world's nickel supply, the metal that powers every electric vehicle battery. Combined with China's rare earth dominance and Russia's energy reserves, BRICS countries control the raw materials that will define the 21st century economy. This is where things get interesting. Because BRICS isn't just big, it's strategically positioned at the choke points of the global supply chain. When you control the resources and you're building alternative payment systems, you're not just joining the game, you're changing the rules. So why are all these countries rushing to join? Here's the brutal truth. They're tired of being told what to do. For decades, if you wanted to participate in global trade, you played by Western rules. Need a loan? Go to the IMF and accept their conditions. Want to trade oil? Do it in dollars. Step out of line? Get sanctioned. BRICS offers something different: economic sovereignty. Ethiopia looks at BRICS and sees a chance to trade without dollar shortages that have plagued them for years. Egypt sees a way out of endless IMF programs. Malaysia and Thailand see China's infrastructure investments with no political lectures attached. But here's the fascinating part. This isn't just about economics, it's about dignity. When Brazil's President Lula met with Middle Eastern leaders in 2024, he barely acknowledged Washington. He's not anti-American, he's pro-Brazilian sovereignty. There's a difference. India won't settle Russian oil payments in Chinese yuan because they don't want to replace American dominance with Chinese dominance. They want options. That word options is what's driving this whole expansion. Countries don't want to destroy the Western system. They just don't want it to be their only choice. And the more Washington threatens them for seeking alternatives, the more they want those alternatives. Now let's talk about what really has Washington losing sleep: the dollar attack. For 80 years, controlling the dollar meant controlling global finance. It's not just a currency, it's leverage. The US can freeze assets, block transactions, countries off from the global economy with a phone call, until now. BRICS Pay launched as a pilot in 2024. Think of it as a WhatsApp for money that doesn't go through Western banks. China's CIPS system already connects 4,800 banks across 185 countries. These aren't proposals on paper. They're functioning systems processing real transactions right now. And then there's the gold move. Central banks worldwide bought over 1,000 metric tons of gold in 2024, the 3rd straight year of record purchases. Why? Because gold can't be sanctioned. It can't be frozen. It exists outside the dollar system. BRICS is even testing a currency backed 40% by gold. Imagine settling oil trades in gold-backed units instead of dollars. That's not theoretical. There's a pilot running right now. Here's what makes this genuinely threatening. BRICS doesn't need to replace the dollar overnight. They just need to create enough alternatives that the dollar's dominance slowly erodes. Death by 1,000 cuts, not a knockout punch. Brazil and China already have a $30 billion currency swap, trading directly without dollars. India opened rupee accounts for 30 countries. Russia and Iran moved 95% of their trade away from dollars. Transaction by transaction, the foundation is cracking. So how has America responded? With threats. Lots of threats. Trump returned to office and immediately warned BRICS countries, commit to the dollar or face 100% tariffs. By July 2025, he threatened an additional 10% levy on anyone pursuing anti-American policies. The problem? The strategy is gasoline on the fire. BRICS added Indonesia after Trump's tariff threats. Countries aren't backing down, they're doubling down. Because Trump's threats prove exactly why they want alternatives in the first place. Think about it from their perspective. If America can weaponize the dollar, freeze your assets, and threaten your economy with tariffs, why wouldn't you want a backup plan? Every sanction, every threat, every use of economic leverage validates the entire reason BRICS exists. Brazil barely takes calls from Washington anymore. India is quietly building rupee trade networks. China is aggressively expanding CIPS. The traditional American playbook, use economic dominance to force compliance, hits a wall when countries are actively trying to escape the dominance. You can't threaten someone with something they're already trying to live without. Now, before this sounds like BRICS is unstoppable, let's inject some reality. India and China literally have troops facing off at their border. India refuses Chinese monetary dominance. Brazil and Indonesia are democracies, while China and Iran are authoritarian. That's a lot of internal tension. The dollar still dominates 89% of currency exchanges. SWIFT is still the king of international payments. These alternative systems are growing, but they're nowhere near replacing the old infrastructure. BRICS Pay is still in testing. The gold-backed currency is experimental. These are works in progress with no guarantee they'll succeed. But here's what matters. They don't need to fully succeed to change everything. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Washington doesn't want to admit. For decades, America's power rested on one assumption, that the world had no choice but to use the dollar. No alternatives, no options, our way or the highway. That assumption just died. BRICS isn't replacing American dominance. It's ending the era where any single country can dominate it all. We're watching the birth of a multipolar world where power is distributed, not concentrated. And the speed of this shift, unprecedented. 5 years ago, BRICS was a joke in Washington think tanks. Today, it represents half of humanity and controls more economic power than the G7. 5 years from now, if this trajectory continues, the global financial system will look completely different. The real question isn't whether BRICS will succeed, it's whether America can adapt to a world where it's no longer the only option. Because right now, every threat, every sanction, every tariff is teaching the world a dangerous lesson. You need an alternative to America. And BRICS is becoming that alternative faster than Washington can figure out how to stop it. The empire isn't falling, but its monopoly is breaking. And once that breaks, it doesn't come back. What do you think happens next? Is this the end of American financial dominance, or will BRICS collapse under its own contradictions? Drop your hottest take in the comments, because this conversation is just getting started. If this opens your eyes to what's really happening behind the headlines, smash that like button and subscribe. We're tracking the biggest power shift of our generation. You don't want to miss what comes next. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.